man. What's up? What's up?
Man, I remember when we were at JSU together, if we weren't in class, we were in the rec playing
Oh
basketball,
yeah.
hooping every day. You still
Oh
hooping? You
yeah.
still getting that cardio in?
I get out there with the guys every now and then. Now it's high school kids. It's not college kids, so I have to take it easy on them. But I still get active, man. I still stay with it.
You played football. We're talking
Mhm.
about you playing basketball, but you told me last time we talked that wrestling was actually your sport growing up. How much did wrestling benefit you in football?
Yeah, it was one I got into seventh grade, and I still mess around with it. Coached it some since been out of high school, but just being a wrestler, not even just the physical stuff, but the mental part of wrestling, like it's by far one of the hardest things you can like actively participate in. It's a different type of tiredness. That benefited me a lot, but also just the takedowns, the body awareness, things like that, man. Wrestling, I tell people all the time, if you're not playing basketball and you play football, you need to be wrestling.
I know you were once a self-proclaimed coffee addict. I don't know if you still are. I don't know if that still holds up. Have you grown
Oh,
your coffee repertoire?
I'm still going strong. It's only gotten bigger, better. Now that I'm, not the farther I'll get away from college, the more money I get, the more I find time and to spend money on things that I look up. I'm like, why did I do that? So now I have, an assortment of accessories and espresso makers and things like that. So no, it hasn't slowed down at all.
In 2017, I went to Guatemala and we were staying close to a kind of, I guess, like a coffee farm or a coffee
Mm-hmm.
bean place where I think they said Starbucks would get some of their stuff. Man, you got to go check out these countries where they got the rich coffee, man.
Oh, if I can get to Guatemala, obviously like the countries like Ethiopia, where it all started, that I would love to, just to bring home some of that homegrown, authentic coffee, that'd be different.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So I know we actually grew up kind of close to each other. I went to
Mm-hmm.
Corner and you went to
Yeah,
Minor.
yeah.
And then you transferred to Leeds where you won a regional championship your senior year. What went into
Mm-hmm.
that decision? I know you're tight with Coach Etheridge. Did he influence you on that?
Coach Etheridge, I mean, not much. They just were winning at Leeds. So I grew up in minor, obviously, and we had some coaches move around and leave, and I didn't really like the direction where my high school career and where that team was going per se. Still loved all the coaches and things like that, but just didn't love the direction. And I had a younger brother coming in high school, and we all sat down as a family and was like, well, how do y'all feel about transferring? A couple schools were on the table, Pleasant Grove, Hugh schools that were close. And then we actually had a buddy of ours, to Daryl Marshall, who now coaches at Moody, played at UAB and Sanford. They won a couple state championships at Leeds. He's the same grade as my younger brother. And he was just like, hey, man, it ain't bad over here. We win. It's a little bit smaller than minor, but, the coach here is amazing. And, we just, all right, cool. We'll trust you on that one. And, we went over there and the rest is history. And, it was one of the best decisions that I think we made to this day. Those folks are like family. Coach Etheridge, I got a chance to work with him at Oxford. Those guys, I love them to death. Cam, he's down at Auburn. Those are it's like a second family to me.
Some people may not know that after high school, you actually didn't go straight to JSU. You went to Arizona Western.
Yeah, yeah. So, it was one of those deals. I had a couple offers in high school. I wasn't like majorly like overly recruited or anything like that. Had a couple HBCU offers. Central Arkansas, JSU had offered me like a partial, like something like 50% or something like that. And I decided to go to Troy at first. And then I took the JUCO route, left after Coach Blakeney retired, went the JUCO route. I was like, I felt like, I was good enough to play ball. Went there, played decent, got a couple offers, got re-recruited, and then I made my way to JSU. So,
Man, I got some family out in Tucson, and I know that Arizona heat is something else, man. You got any
oh yeah,
crazy stories?
it feels like an oven. The sandstorms were weird. They have tarantulas, they have road runners. It's different. It's a different place, beautiful place though. Like when you talk about Tucson, when you talk about Phoenix, I love those cities. I haven't had a chance to go out there much. I think I've been back twice since then, but I like Arizona a lot. And now the older I get, just getting into golf and things like that. I got to make my way to some of the courses. I hear a lot of good things about their golf courses, and yeah, man, I love Arizona, man. So yeah, it's a special place in my heart. But the heat, I don't miss that. I don't miss 117, 115. I don't miss that at all.
What's your handicap?
Bad, bad, bad. I'm 2 years in. 2 years in, but it's I like it because it's challenging. I'm not good. I'm not. I'm humble enough to say that. But the consistency is getting there now. I know the more you golf, the more you appreciate the short game, the mid stuff. Everybody wants to drive the ball super far, and when I touch a ball, like it goes, like it's not, it goes pretty. It's fun to watch, but getting dialed in on my irons is the most. Getting comfortable with my irons is the most. It feels the best. Now like I love my 6-iron. I love my 7-iron or 6-iron. Like those two, I feel like I can make anything if I get it within the range of those.
I definitely have a love-hate relationship with golf. It's the most bipolar sport ever.
Mm-hmm.
You'll get a great drive off the tee straight down the fairway, and then you'll shank one in the woods.
No, it'll look, and then you come back, and then a couple holes later, you hit a great ball, and everything's all good, and then you're chasing that feeling like forever. You're chasing that feeling of that one flush shot, that one good one that you put on that you dropped on the green. You're chasing that until next week you go golf with your buddy, or next time you go to the range or whatever. It's like an endless cycle, like you said, like a love-hate relationship.
All you need is that one shot to bring you back.
Oh, that's it. No, that's it. Yeah, it got you. It got you.
So, man, while you were out at Arizona Western, what was that recruiting process like for you? How did it differ for JUCO versus when you were in high school?
So, coming off a year, I was in California for a year while, had a lot of success out there. And then Arizona Western, they reached out, and I made my way to Arizona Western. I was a lot more wanted, I would say. I think I was definitely a late bloomer in high school. I entered high school about my freshman year. I was probably 5'3", like 105. And I left, 5'11" and 6 foot, about 195. But definitely was a late bloomer. I didn't get any muscle till like my junior senior high school. So by the time I got to college, I was physically mature at that point, and I was ready to roll. Being good at football, playing football was never the issue. And I think that JUCO gave me a chance to show what I really had to offer. And a lot more schools came after me. Had like the Mid Tennessees, obviously JSU. They came after me. A lot of the OVC schools. Tennessee recruited me my freshman year, my redshirt freshman year, but I couldn't. They wanted me 3 for 2, but I couldn't get down, so they pulled their offer. But totally different process. It was fun. Like I said, JUCO is like glorified high school, but just a lot more intense because it's either you're going to make it out or you're going to be done forever.
So why JSU?
It was home. I had been on the West Coast for 2 years at that point. They were winning. That was in the middle of the incredible run that Coach Gross and staff had going. And, the guys recruiting me, Coach Bates, who's now Oklahoma, Coach Hall, who's now Oklahoma, a lot of really good coaches there. You go look at that staff now, they're all over the place. UAB, Oklahoma, a couple of them went to, Bama, Tennessee, Oregon, you know what I mean? It was a really, really good staff, and they did a great job of selling the program. And coming home and wanting to win was ultimately the deciding factor.
Well, it's funny you say that because it seems like you win everywhere you go. Like I mentioned earlier, you win a regional championship your senior year at Leeds. You win 2 OVC titles at JSU. And I know your senior year, a lot of guys were writing y'all off because you lost Mr. JSU, Eli Jenkins, and you got walk-on linebacker and Bryant Horn taking over. I know y'all had definitely a chip on your shoulder.
Yeah, well, we had great coaches. You know what I mean? I said a second ago, we had really, really good coaches, and we had coaches that wanted to win, and that was the standard. Obviously losing guys like Eli, you can't replace people like him. You can't replace people like Josh Barge. Those guys were, the record and numbers are going to be up at JSU for a while. But just setting the tone. I think we lost to Youngstown State that year. It had a bitter taste in our mouth because we were the number one overall seed. We expected to go back to the national championship and things like that, and we didn't. But man, we had some dogs. Like just from Horn was a dog, like you said, he walked on, but we had Rock Thomas at running back. We had a bunch of different weapons at receiver. The defense is where it really got nasty. We had guys like Saran, who's with Buffalo now. We had Marlon Bridges, 4-time All-American, one of the best football players I've ever been around. Reggie Hall, who got an opportunity to go with the Jets and Jaguars. We had Traco at another safety. Then our linebackers, Joel, Quan, and not even I didn't even mention D-Jack. He was the FCS Defense Player of the Year, and G and all the Montrez and I can keep going on. Every last one of those dudes were straight up dogs. Like I trusted every single one of them on the field. We were competing at every tackle. They made it easy because at practice it was so intense. We have guys who are now seniors at JSU, and they could tell you the stories. Practices would get so intense when we'd go from first down to practice, like we'd be ready to fight. So that was the expectation, and just trying to carry that in everything I do. Like I said, the coaches that I had, they did a great job of instilling some of those principles into me.
Don't be too modest, man. You got your chance too at when the Rams called you. What was that like?
That was awesome. That was coming into my senior year. And I was just playing. I wanted to compete. Get on the field, things like that. And then you look up a couple weeks in, and hey, the scout comes by. He wants to talk to you, or this guy was asking about you. And you're like, for real. And then you get to the end of the season, it's like, hey, you got a shot. And but it kind of felt like a dream. It was cool. It's kind of letting things happen. But going out to Thousand Oaks and going out there to LA, that was really dope experience. You got to see a lot of guys that you see on TV. You talk to coaches that you look up to your whole life. And I remember one moment I was sitting there talking to Wade Phillips at practice. It was in the middle of a break. The coaches that I was working with, they introduced me to him. And, he's the DC at the time. And I'm just starstruck, because I watched him when I was a kid. And he was like, oh, I'm here. Like, I'm really here. So that was cool. I was only there for a quick second. But, that was something I'll remember forever. And it was pretty dope, man. But like I said, I think those coaches, those teammates that I had, they definitely pushed me to that point, and they elevated me to that point.
After they let you go, how long did it take you to say, all right, I'm hanging them up?
So afterwards, I had a couple workouts, had some CFL stuff lined up, and then the AAF, when they came calling, and I was like, okay, cool. So I had a really good camp when I went out there. It wasn't I never felt like I wasn't good enough thing. That year they went to the Super Bowl, and they only kept like one or two rookies. So it's not like they loaded up on free agents, kind of like they did this past year where they loaded up on free agents. They didn't want a lot of young guys hanging around. They wanted veterans, and they were in win now mode. But I stayed with it. Went back, finished up some stuff at school, and then the AAF called. And at that point, I was like, I'm tired of the workouts. And this probably went on for like another 7-8 months, 9 months after I left LA. I was like, I'm tired of the workouts. I'm tired of the roller coaster. And I was like, I'll just move on with it. I love football to death. You know what I mean? But it was never going to be my end game. It was just a means to get to something bigger. And that's kind of how I viewed it. I was thankful for the opportunities and things like that. But I know I got more to accomplish. You can only play football for a short period of time. And I think I always just try to look at the bigger picture.
I know you're out in Texas now, and you spent some time at Oxford and a short little time back at JSU. What made you want to get into coaching?
Well, my coaches, growing up, they always would say I'm going to be a coach. People would mess with me. They called me ESPN. I would know all the stats. I was a big, stat guy. I would nerd out because I wasn't always like the guy. I don't think I ever was the guy. I always played good, and I was consistent. I did my job and things like that. And I would always hang out with my coaches. I would always sit in the office with the coaches and things like that. And they would tell me, you're going to be a coach. And I'm like, whatever. So Coach Etheridge, actually, when I was done playing, he would tell me for like a year, like, I'll hire you right now. I'll hire you now. And I'm like, man, you're crazy. Like, I'm not getting into coaching. And then, our corner coach at JSU, Coach Kilgore, was talking to me one day when I was finishing up my master's stuff at JSU. And he was like, I'll go talk to him, brought me in the office and got me into it. Kind of fell in love with just the process of it. And I realized I really do enjoy teaching, like the player development part of football. because I really didn't have. I had a lot of good people in my life when I was younger, but I didn't have people. I wish I would have had more. I wish I would have had more people trying to tell me things like my high school coach. They were great guys, great coaches. But some of the information I'm giving some of my players now, I couldn't imagine the player I would have been if I had it. But that's kind of what got me into it. Coach Etheridge, Coach Kilgore, some of those coaches at JSU, they definitely, started that path for me and laid a foundation for me to get it to where I'm at now.
He was a force at Leeds High School. He was a specimen at JSU. Jonathan, my man, thank you for coming on the show.
No problem, man. Thanks for having me on.